This film is Bruce, of Bruce's kind of creative process.
It's about an artist who's wrestling with isolation and ultimately discovering the transformative power of vulnerability and reconciliation.
Trying to find something real in all the noise.
Always do.
It's a story about creativity, about protecting authenticity in an increasingly synthetic world.
Those songs, they're the only thing making sense to me right now. It's the only thing I can still believe in.
Then we'll get it.
There's a commitment to finding the truth he's trying to explore and share with no limitations, that he's going to honor the quest until he gets there.
Come on. To me, the film really looks at this isolated experience that we all have as human beings.
This had a real essence of truth and honesty and a purity to it.
Daddy?
And outside. It wasn't glossy in any way. It didn't pull no punches.
It was very emotional, and it says a lot about, father-son relationships and what it means to be an artist and just a human. And I thought, wow, this is not your typical music biopic movie. What are you calling that one?
I was gonna call it Starkweather. Now I'm thinking Nebraska.
May 2023, I was listening to Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, and Warren Zanes, whose book on Tom Petty I had read, was the guest that day, and he was there to talk about his new book, Deliver Me From Nowhere, The Making of Nebraska.
Warren Zanes got in touch with me and mentioned that he wanted to write a book on the making of Nebraska. He came down to my house, interviewed me a few times, and wrote the book. I loved it. I figured that was going to be the end of it,
Warren said that John Landau gave him the biggest compliment on the book, which was that he made the mastering of a record read like an action thriller. I was like, now that sounds really interesting.
And so he decided he was going to grab the book. He called me and he said, I'm going to read this. I think there's something here. And knowing how many times people had attempted to make movies about Bruce, I was sort of like, well, we'll see what happens.
I reached out to Warren saying, loved your book. I really feel like there could be something here in terms of a movie. I'd love to connect with you.
What struck me was just this feeling of, I think this guy understands my book. He understood the emotion of it, and I think he understood the significance of it in relation to Bruce Springsteen's life and career.
Cameras are set. Stay back.
Giants like us, baby, we were born to run. Oh, giants like us, baby, we were born to run.
Bruce, he's just finished the tour for the river. It was his biggest tour to date, and following up the river with Nebraska.
He's all standing on the front.
We had listened to the river, and then Nebraska came. And the first reaction to Nebraska was one of confusion. Nebraska was this left turn that we couldn't make sense of, not immediately.
Love you, Bruce! Hungry heart!
But we trusted this artist to such a degree that we just kept playing that thing until it got into our bloodstream.
He's one of the great American storytellers. Just take away the music, just in terms of a storyteller. He's really captured the essence of the fabric of this country. And he talks about real life. His songs and his history are about a real working class upbringing.
It's a little flashier than I'm used to.
But it's awfully fitting for some devil rock star. I do know who you are.
Well, that makes one of us.
The thing about Warren's book is it was operating on so many levels, about the struggle of a mainstream artist to push back against expectations, both economic and personal.
You know how it goes. Once you have your first top 10, they want 3 for the next. Feed the machine.
That's not us, John. We've never been about singles, but the album. Right, the whole story.
The book really distills the dilemma of the film, which is this point of crisis in Bruce's life, certainly a crossroads.
Success
It's complicated for Bruce. These songs are about someone who is guilty, and he feels guilty of leaving behind the world he comes from, the world he knows.
John Landau is a supporter, he's protector, caretaker. It's a love story, between these two men in a big way.
In this office, my office, we believe in Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and me just hooked up. It's really a once-in-a-lifetime relationship, I think, for both of us. And the opportunity to contribute to this whole body of work has just been very fulfilling. I just feel like I was born to do what I'm doing. The whole thing in this scene is he knows how it ends, because it doesn't matter what Al says.
His office,
It
we
doesn't-
believe in Bruce Springsteen.
That's all.
John Landau is Bruce's longtime manager, but he's much more than a manager. He's a collaborator, he's a trusted confidant whose partnership with Bruce balances this deep friendship with professional guidance in a way that's unmatched in music.
John is not a manager or a producer in any traditional sense of the word. I don't think you can put a label on their relationship. You find something real, I'll deal with the noise.
You deal with the noise.
That's my job.
Thanks, John.
They caught the deep, deep emotion that exists between John and I, the love that exists between John and I, and we're just really magnificent in bringing that to the screen.
Let's burn this place down, John.
And I'm happy to report 43 years after the record was released and 50 years after they met, Bruce and John are still burning it down.
You tapped into something incredibly powerful, and I'm excited to see where it takes us.
When you write about a musician, there's a chance that you'll hear from people who think it could be a good movie. But as a writer, I know that I don't have rights to the music and I can't offer the life rights of the artist. So when I've gotten people reaching out saying, hey, this would make a good movie, I simply say, I agree. But it was Eric's persistence that really got us to the point where something real could begin to happen.
I received an email from Ellen Goldsmith Bain and Eric, two of our producers. Are you a fan of Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska? And I wrote back, who isn't?
As it turns out, he had been listening to Nebraska while he had been working on Out of the Furnace, sort of on repeat, so he was really familiar with the material.
I read Warren's book. I was immediately taken by it. I could see its cinematic potential, and I said, this is great. So is Bruce on board, and do we have all of his music? And they said, no, Bruce has no idea about this project.
So then we had to strategize about how to get Bruce Springsteen and John Landau on board. Obviously, nothing could happen without them.
Warren Zanes and I fly to New Jersey. We meet with Bruce and John Landau, both of whom are real cinephiles, and they had seen all of my films.
The tone of his films I really liked. You know, they had a grittiness to them, and, we sat for an afternoon and talked, and he just felt like, outside of being a great guy, he felt like the right guy for the job.
I left that day with a handshake where Bruce Springsteen says, I'd love you to tell my story. And that's where it began.
I think that the whole album, the tone of it is haunting in a way that I don't think has ever been heard before, and a lot of the things that were bouncing around his head during the Nebraska sessions, personally and also musically, to sort of get this vibe of the sort of dark side of America and the dark side of working people and people's ambitions and dreams.
He was really exploring his demons. He was exploring his childhood. The book talks about how he would get in his car and drive around Freehold and literally see and hear the ghosts of his childhood self, his mom, his father.
Bruce's relationship with his father was complicated. A man who was battling his own demons that didn't allow him to fully connect to Bruce.
The relationship was a very fractured relationship. His dad was never tactile in any way, shape, or form. Never really told him he loved him.
Never let anybody hurt your mother.
Bruce said something about his childhood being both the thing that destroyed him and the thing that made him.
Bruce said to me that he would always remember his parents from black and white images. So I felt like I wanted to evoke those memories in a very formalist way, which is very different from how I shoot the contemporary scenes.
My sister, who's a year younger than me, she held my hand during the whole screening. And the first thing she said to me when the credits came up was, "Isn't it wonderful we have this representation of our family and our family life and our family struggles on film?" It really is.
One other reason that Nebraska has this lasting power, it's flawed. It's unfinished. He only recorded it as demos.
I read about these machines. They're new. You can multi-track at home.
In 1981, he heard about this new technology where you can create an in-home studio.
TAC 144 Porta Studio.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. Joblo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.